The night was supposed to be magical. The cruise ship's ballroom glittered with chandeliers that shimmered like stars trapped in glass, the air carrying the scent of expensive perfumes and freshly polished wood. From the deck, the sea whispered in deep, rhythmic waves, endless and mysterious. But amid the elegance and beauty, a young woman stood frozen, her hands cradling the swell of her stomach, her eyes wide with shock and betrayal. She had thought this trip would be a celebration, a chance to heal and reconnect with the man she loved, the man she had married with all her heart. Instead, she watched him walk away, his tailored suit sharp under the golden lights, his cold words cutting deeper than the ocean's darkest trench. He wasn't just abandoning her. He was abandoning their unborn child. On that cruise ship, surrounded by strangers, she realized her worst nightmare had come true. The CEO she had given everything to had left her when she needed him most. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the strength of the human spirit, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel Royal Stories. Your support helps us bring more stories that touch hearts and inspire souls. She stayed standing there long after he disappeared into the crowd, her breath uneven, the lump in her throat threatening to choke her. All around her, the music played on, couples danced, laughter spilled like champagne from gilded glasses, but in her world everything had gone silent. She thought of how he had once promised her the world, how he had whispered that she was the only one he would ever love. She thought of the night he had found out she was pregnant, how his lips had trembled when he kissed her stomach and promised to protect both of them forever. But forever had lasted only until his ambition grew sharper than his love. He had already been distant for months, drowning himself in board meetings, late nights, and business trips. Now she understood why. To him, love was an accessory. Family was a liability. And she, carrying his child, was a burden he no longer wished to shoulder. The sea air grew colder as she wandered onto the deck, the night sky pressing heavily against her. She pressed a hand over her heart as if she could hold the pieces together. The baby kicked softly, reminding her she was not alone, though loneliness surrounded her like a storm. She wanted to cry, to collapse, but instead she stood tall, staring at the horizon. Somewhere inside her, a flame of strength began to flicker. She did not know yet where it would lead, only that she had no choice but to keep going. And then fate twisted in a way she never could have imagined. The next morning, when the ship's captain invited passengers for an introductory address, she followed the others to the deck. Her eyes fell on the man in uniform standing with authority at the helm. His shoulders were broad, his metals gleaming, his gaze as commanding as the ocean itself. And when those eyes met hers, she felt her knees weaken. The captain was no stranger. He was her father, the man she had not seen for years, the man who had once served as an admiral in the Navy, before their family had fractured under the weight of his duties and absences. She had left home young, hurt and misunderstood, and never told him about the man she married. Now here he was, the one person she thought she had lost forever, standing in charge of the very ship where her heart had shattered. For days she tried to keep her distance, ashamed and uncertain of how to face him. But life has a way of forcing hearts to confront what they fear most. One evening, when the storm outside shook the ship with violent winds and crashing waves, she nearly lost her footing on the slippery deck. Strong arms caught her, steadying her. And when she looked up, it was him, her father. His eyes softened when he saw her, the hardened expression of a military man breaking into something raw and tender. In that moment, she could no longer hide. The tears spilled freely, and she whispered the truth about her failed marriage, her pregnancy, and the cruel abandonment she had endured just days before. The admiral's face darkened with grief and anger. He had spent his life commanding fleets, protecting his country, facing storms at sea, but nothing had ever wounded him as much as seeing his daughter broken by betrayal. He wrapped her in his arms, whispering words she had longed to hear since childhood, that she was not alone, that she was stronger than she knew, and that he would stand by her no matter what. For the first time in years, she felt the kind of safety no wealth or power could buy, the safety of unconditional love. As the voyage continued, father and daughter rebuilt what had been lost. They walked the decks together, her hand on her stomach, his steady presence guiding her. He shared stories of his youth, of courage, of sacrifice, and taught her lessons of resilience. And slowly, her broken heart began to mend. Passengers who had seen her sorrow at the beginning of the journey now saw her glow with quiet strength. Some whispered about the CEO who had left her, but she no longer bowed her head in shame. She lifted it proudly, because she knew her worth did not depend on a man who abandoned her but on the love she carried for her child and the strength she was reclaiming within herself. When the ship finally reached port, she stepped onto solid ground not as the fragile woman who had boarded days ago, but as a survivor ready to face the world. Her father stood beside her, a silent guardian, his arm steady on her shoulder. Together they walked into a future unknown but filled with possibility. She no longer feared the storms, because she had already weathered the worst one, and found her anchor in the love that had been waiting all along. To everyone watching this, if this story touched your heart, please support us by liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing to Royal Stories. Your love helps us continue creating heartfelt tales that remind us of hope, resilience, and the power of family. Rose special request to comment. What would you do if you were abandoned in such a heartbreaking way? Would you forgive, fight, or walk away stronger? Share your thoughts below, we'd love to hear them.